one of the things about education, we as instructors need to make it more exciting for our students. And so because of experiences like you had and other students, my job is to make sure my students have meaningful assignments. I could care less about these basic assignments that are busy work.
Yeah.
I do things like I want my students to go interview a CEO within their industry. And I've had several students come back and say I got a job offer from an interview.
Yeah.
That's the kind of assignments our students need nowadays. Our old academic system is shifting, and we need to shift with it. We try to get students off the phone. Let's just stop preaching, stay off your phone, and let's give them assignments that help them use the phone and teach them how to use it and balance the use for that. So we have to, as teachers, as trainers, as professors, we have to get better at making education not necessarily more fun, but more practical. Yeah. And so that's part of what I do in the university side.
I see that just on a smaller scale in my own family, right? So my kids, young kids, but they're obviously going to grow up with technology. It's everywhere. You know, we have not decided to limit their tablet use per se. You know, we want because look what their dad does. Like, you know, I'm on my computer 19 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? So it's or some sort of video work or something, right?
Remember that commercial? I learned about watching you.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna want to do what I do, and I'm gonna have to show them, and maybe they'll take to it, maybe they won't. But what I do notice is because they spend time learning in ways that I would have never thought they would learn. Yeah. So they're drawn to all sorts of different types of videos, but sometimes, like my daughter's a great example of this. So she watches these YouTube videos where they like draw, and they show you how to like draw a butterfly or show you how to draw a thing. And so she'll go on the kitchen table, she'll have a real piece of paper, and she'll watch the video, and all of a sudden she's got. And I'm like, and so it's brought out a potential gifting in her. And the same thing for like crafts and stuff. Like they'll see an idea, like, you know, 3 levels of oil and what sinks and what doesn't. And all of a sudden they want to pull all the stuff out of my kitchen, and they're doing this, but they're learning in a way that is practical to them on their level, right? And so this is what you're saying. Let's not just put the phones away. What is a way they can use this phone that's practical? I absolutely believe that that's a thing for the Christian church too, is that we often like want to invite everybody to a Bible study, but really, like, what is that equipping us for? You know, we need to be equipped to be able to share the gospel via a podcast or via whatever the vehicle is. We've got to learn how to do these things on the level of technology that we're at today. I imagine that it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So as you are in a place where you're trying to develop, you're on the side of developing the ways to do that. So what are some things that you're seeing in that development that are sticking?
So giving them practical tools that they have the understanding of where this is going. If you've ever taken a course, which most people have, you take the assignment or you go throughout the course and you're just like, what am I going to need this for in the future?
Right.
A lot of people don't like math because they ask that question. Why you have me doing all this math stuff? I'm not going to use it in the future.
That's right.
So like my students right now, I'm teaching a supply chain management class. I tell my students, we have a blog that you have to do every single week. All these questions are based on supply chain management. The thing is, none of you all, matter of fact, I can say none, but a slim chance that you all are actually going to go into logistics in a supply chain field. I have cybersecurity, healthcare, human resource students. I have an accounting student. So turn the question into the perspective of what you're going to be doing in the future. So if you're an accountant, look at that question and say, what is an accountant worried about in this question? And then you give me an answer back. My students love this because of the fact that I'm just not telling them that you need to learn this and answer the question because that's what the book says. Right. No, they're applying it to because every business has logistics. It depends on even a small business, you got to go down to the post office and mail off stuff. So teach the students how this is going to apply to them in the future and make it make sense to them. Yeah. And you'll get more out of it.
I have this image of like all the good movies based around like a teacher came into a bad environment, you know, like what was that, Michelle Pfeiffer and Coolio and
Dangerous Minds.
Yeah, and like there's tons of these, you know, and every single time the teacher Finding Forrester was another one where he taught the guy to write a book, and they come into a situation where it's not ideal for the students. Like they're either not being effectively taught, or maybe they're shining in other areas, but they're trying to be force fed to go down this other route.
Yes.
And each time you see this teacher, find a way to meet them on their level, and that's exactly what you're describing. And so, like, you're doing the typical movie-like thing that provides the best results, the results we all want to see happen, you know. But we're not doing it in a typical way, because everybody fights against the typical way, like in all these movies, right? They're like, you're doing it wrong, that's never going to work, and all this. But it does work though.
And it's hard on teachers, because especially in the K through 12 systems, because they're teaching now for these students to pass the test, because there's so many stipulations on them that their jobs are in jeopardy if their students don't pass these tests and make certain percentages, which is hard on them. But a big shout out to all our K through 12 teachers, because that is a hard profession and you don't get paid a lot either.
Yeah.
So we have to support. And then also too, let me say this as well, parents have to do a better job. And I think the good thing that came out of COVID was a lot of parents realized it's probably not the teacher's fault.
Yeah.
If your child was bad in the classroom and
really?
COVID, right.
I thought you knew.
And now you get to see. I used to laugh at some folks because they were like, I don't know why my kid's so bad. I'm like, the teacher's been telling you for the past 2 years, your child bad. Now he's at home because of COVID, and you get to see it. Now you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, don't blame it always on the teacher.
Yeah, no, the teacher. I'm blessed that we're able to send my kids to a private school, and it's been interesting because I see, like, they teach cursive, for instance. And the public schools gave that up at some point.
Good, thank you. Yes, yes.
The good that they gave it up, or good that they teach it?
If the power goes out,
yeah,
you cannot sign your name electronically. So they need to learn how to sign their name. I don't know why they're taking that out of schools.
Yeah, me neither. And so, like, it's interesting to me to know that the way that they're being taught in the school is always Christ-centered and Christ-focused. And so, obviously, where you're at, that isn't always a thing. So how are we effectively teaching people who aren't, like, having a because some people aren't in school because they know that God's put a plan on their life. They've got a calling, they've got a gifting, and they're going out in the world to spread that out. You know what I'm saying? Some people are that's selfish, or they don't even know why they're at school. I would imagine most kids are at school just like going to school. So how do you, as a Christian in that environment, love on these kids in a way that hopefully teaches them to figure this out for themselves?
Man, let me tell you, it starts with the small things. The small things, as a student calls you for help, you call them back. Imagine how many kids at home don't have somebody to call them back.
Yeah.
Don't have somebody that's going to answer them or help them. That's the small stuff, and that's easy to do. But if you pass up on those opportunities, you will burn a bridge with a kid, and it's hard to get that back, because we have to realize that a lot of them they didn't grow up in the same households that we grew up in. I was blessed to have 2 parents who understood that concept and reinforced those things through love and everything else.
Right.
So because I was blessed with that, it's my job to pass that on to someone else. So in the classroom, it's a matter of follow up with the student, check on them, send them an email and say, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to follow up. You did pretty well on this assignment, or you didn't do well on this assignment. What kind of help do you need? And when they ask you for help, you better be there to give them that help.
Trust. And so the technology side of it, though, is that been a deterrent? Because my wife's brother is also a teacher in high school, and so he was explaining, like, basically everything's electronic now.
Yes.
Everything, like, it's all Google Drive. They're submitting their projects. They're seeing everything online. There's not paper or anything. And so for me, I don't know if that's a hindrance or a help.
So people have to look outside of their own box. There are some people who do not have the means to have all the electronics at the home. So we're having teachers make assignments to say, hey, I need you to go home tonight, type this up. Okay, so what if the kid lives in an area that's not safe? They don't have electronics. They don't have internet at home. So therefore, it's kind of hard for them to do that assignment. It's not like when we grew up, you could go down to the library and stay all night in the library. There's some kids who live in some dangerous neighborhoods where they can't do that.
Yeah.
So either they can do it on their phone, and that's where the teachers have to be creative. If you can't go to a library, or you don't have a computer at home, you have a phone, shoot me an email and send me your assignment through the email. So we just have to be more creative in the classroom.
How does that translate in terms of relational? Because it's got, like, phone text and being there for somebody is one thing, but like there has to be something that's disconnected when you're not really looking somebody in the eye.
So relational, let's start with the work environment. The work environment, we have a lot of businesses who are going to this electronic only training. That bothers me so much, because we cannot build effective relationships if we're always over the internet. We have to get people in the room to know how to work with each other. So we can couple those together. Don't eliminate both of them, but they have to be worked together. Now in academia, we have to teach them balance. We're shifting to, yes, we need to work with them electronically, but I need to teach a student how a balance. Turn your phone off.
Yeah.
one of the CEOs I work for, Elena, I really commend her for, she said on Monday mornings, she told the whole company, on Monday morning, I don't want anybody looking at email until the afternoon. You come in as a leader and you talk to your folks in the beginning of the week. You see how they're doing. You talk to them. Don't talk to them about work. Just see how the weekend's doing, see how their families are doing. And then in the afternoon, go through your emails. Because you'll sit down, on Monday morning, you got a million email, and you haven't built relationships with your employees from the very beginning. You're stuck in your office all day long reading emails over the weekend.
Now you're the boss everybody hates.
There you go.
Your relationships are out the window.
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to be effective as a boss or a communicator.
With my business students, I do this thing all the time. I tell them to close their eyes, and I do it in threes. So I say, close your eyes, and then have them open their eyes. And I say, no, 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 no. I say, do it again. And then they open up their eyes. I say, no, 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 no. And I'm pointing at each of them when I do this. And then the third time, I say, open up your eyes, and I smile and wave at them. And so I asked them, I said, what did you think was going to happen? And they said, we thought you was going to say no, no, no again. I said, why? They said, because every time we opened up our eyes, you said no. I said, that's how some of you do not want to be a leader. Because every time you come around, you're telling them, no, they didn't do this right. They didn't do that, all of that. And some supervisors and managers, that's what they look like to their employees. And we can't do that.
Yeah. There's somebody I heard said it once, I repeat it often. You have to deposit more than you withdraw in people.
Yes.
And that is so easy to forget as a leader who needs to get things done on a deadline, and you've got people underneath you and they delegate and all this stuff. And the word can in front of, hey, can you do this? Instead of, hey, do this. That's a whole, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. I'm going to need you to do this. Can you do it? Yeah. But it opens up a dialogue of relationship. Like, hey, I'm pretty busy. Oh, of course I can. I'll get that for you. But relationally, it's so much different than just no, 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 no.
And visually, what you're saying is palm up versus palm down. If I'm pointing, my palm is down, versus if I'm asking you a question, can you do that? My palm is up. Yeah. So we can do that verbally, and we can do it visually as well too. Makes a difference.